Okay, let me show you the danger and why reading a book that has who cares about citing sources? This is why I ask people, oh, so you've read, and this is when I was in debate with a few Protestants. They said, well, didn't Origen say this, or Julius Sextus Africanus say this, or Tertullian say this, or Irenaeus of Lyon say this, or Polycarp, or Barnabas, or Didache. Hold on, or even Paul. Um, Read the book or the epistle. Um, then also you need to read the chapter before and after the chapter that's talking about the chapter where you find this quote or this verse in. So you have the context, right? Like your body being a temple. That's always taken out of context because nobody reads immediately before it or immediately after it, or even the sentences the sentences immediately before it and immediately after it. So I can give citation for everything I'm going to say, and I'm just going to use scripture. That's all I'm going to do is use the Bible. Psalm 14. There is no God. They have corrupt. They they are corrupt. They have committed abominable deeds. There is there is no one who does good. Um, Going on. Ooh, I think I lost my position here. Who is like you among the gods? For they invited people to sacrifice to their gods, and the people bowed down to their gods. While the Egyptians were burying all their firstborn whom the Lord had struck down, the Lord also executed judgments against their gods. Well, we must be like the Mormons, where we're henotheistic because we believe in other gods, right? Um, Actually, let me just move forward definitely into Judges and Psalms, because we'll find some strange things here. Um, I can't find it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. In Judges, it says, "You yourselves are gods." Um, hmm. I can't find it, but or was it King Samuel? Shoot. Then Jezebel sent a message to Elijah saying, "So may the gods do to me and even more, and I do not make your life as the life of one of them tomorrow is about the time." Yeah, there's countless times where um, and I'm sure everybody knows where they actually call the judges of Israel gods and talk about the council of the gods. And then we have Job, where there's the council of the gods, right? The Elohim, which gets translated the Son of God, the sons of God, sons of God, but that would be B'nai Elohim, sons of God, or B'nai El, um, instead of Elohim, which is gods. Now that's proof texting and quote mining right there, and I was citing it. Taking it fully out of context, and just like a heretic or the demon would do. How do you think all these branches of Protestantism, the Calvinists, the Lutherans, the Arminianists, how do you think they read the same book and yet come up with diametrically opposed things? Predestination, free will, um, total depravity, perseverance of the saints, double predestination. And then you have a whole other sector rejecting that, and they're reading the same book. It's because they all proof text and quote mine. They don't go, let me see. There's a book here called Romans. You know what I should do? I should probably read this from beginning to end and go, I wonder when that was written and why. Let me read Acts again and see what the context of this was. And also try to figure out, maybe it was a reaction to when he wrote Galatians. And he had to answer to Rome because Galatians is kind of bombastic and over the top. Okay, that makes sense. Because the Orthodox Church, as I showed you when I posted the little 20-second clips of Bright Week, we read a paragraph of the Gospel, right? Or even when we read the epistles or stuff from the Old Testament, we don't just quote line. We will read a full section of it. Protestant churches don't do that. Now, quote mining and proof texting, the rapture, that's how they came up with the rapture. And you know what they did? They used the early church fathers too to endorse the rapture. And John Calvin and Martin Luther also relied heavily on the church fathers, quote mining and proof texting, to support their views. Listen to James White. He actually uses the church fathers to support 5-point Calvinism. Before Seraphim Rose came along, who is not a saint, he took a discipline that was only for monastics and then added a bunch of stuff onto it. Again, why isn't it in our funeral services? Why isn't it in any of our doctrines or dogmas or creeds? Surely it would be in our funeral services, right? Surely it would be in the discipline of the ladder of divine ascent with John Climacus, right? But there's 3 sentences in there that allude to it, that taken out of context, like Seraphim Rose does, it can show. And again, he even pulls things out of context from John Chrysostom of all people. Do you believe John Chrysostom actually believed in the toll houses? Have you actually read any of his sermons? What good is the Eucharist and confession? The Eucharist is where sin is wiped away. It's forgiven, and God actually has no more care for your sins. So, if you were given the Eucharist on your deathbed, where then are these toll houses? Are you still going to pass these toll houses? If so, then that makes God a liar, doesn't it? So, just as modern Calvinists and ancient Calvinists, or I should say Calvinists from a few hundred years ago, uh, and modern Lutherans and Lutherans from hundreds of years ago, and same thing with all the other strips of Protestantism, and even the Albigensian, the heretics, the Paulicians, the Bogomils, which is where toll houses came from, was the Bogomils. Yeah, they're going to use scripture and church fathers. And the most important thing you can do when you read the church fathers is read them. And so far, what I've heard from Truth Be Told is citations and this quote and proof texting from like J. Andy Kelly and this guy and that. No, no, no. Read the works of the church fathers, what they have to say. Oh, yeah, because like I said, there's a psalm that says, there is no God. Read on and says, saith the fool. But if we're just going to proof text quote mine, we can create any crazy form of doctrine or dogma, and not to mention, um, you can fully reject the toll house and be 100% Orthodox. It's actually excommunicable and blasphemous to say otherwise. You know why? Because in the Eastern Orthodox Church, you never have to say a prayer to the Theotokos, show reverence to an icon of the Theotokos, or a relic, or ask the saints for intercession. Because it's not central. Christology is central. You don't even have to recognize her as the Ark of the Covenant. And yet you're telling me that this foolish notion of toll houses is far more important than the Theotokos or the saints or relics, which actually are in Scripture. I mean, Elisha, the bones of Elisha, when the robbers came and murdered the man and threw him into the grave, and he hit the bones of Elisha and jumped back up. Those were relics imbued with the grace of God. So the idea that if you don't accept toll houses, you're a heretic. Well, you know what? Every single patriarch in the world has something to say about that, and they're against you because it's not dogmatic, it's not binding. It can be fully rejected, and there's no sin or heresy in it. And when you add to or take away from the church, that's when you shouldn't be taking communion, and that's when you're on the border of being anathematized. Okay? And I'll even repeat this last part that I said because I want to get it through to these people because they're acting as if this is dogmatic or that, you have to believe the earth is only 6,000 years old. Even though I already said biogenesis, we don't have an answer for that, neither does science. I believe in adaptation and change, just as everybody does, and survival of the fittest. And there's a I don't think humans fit into Darwinian evolution. How is that me back? I mean, the biggest creationists of the evangelicals would not even have a problem with me saying that. Peace to you.